Hey everybody, these are a couple of my new Siamese Algae Eaters I have here in my 10-gallon quarantine tank. I bought them under the understanding that they were flying foxes, and so I never really paid that much attention to it. When I brought them home, I just assumed they were flying foxes. And of course, after posting some video of them, I had a lot of my viewers say that these are actually the true Siamese Algae Eaters, which is what I actually wanted. It's what I went out to the store hoping to get, but they had these flying foxes instead, and so I wound up buying them. And it turns out that they were wrong. These actually are true Siamese Algae Eaters. So when I was told that, I started looking them up, and I was pretty quickly convinced that they were definitely the Siamese Algae Eaters. There's a lot of pretty basic stuff you can look at. I don't know why everybody says they're actually really difficult to tell apart. They're actually not when you know a few basic things. One of the things is the black line that goes down the side. I knew they weren't going to cooperate. I've been sitting here forever waiting for them to come out and swim around a little bit. If you'll notice the black line that goes down the side, on the true Siamese, which is what we're looking at, that black line extends all the way to the length of the tip of the tail, whereas the flying foxes, it does not. It stops at the very end of the caudal peduncle, or the sort of that fleshy part of the meaty part of the tail, right before it actually goes to the tail fin. Right there is where that black line stops. The flying foxes also have a little bit more color in their fins. They might have some red or some black. The Siamese Algae Eaters are generally clear, but if the light hits them the right way, I do see little flecks of tan or maybe a little bit of gold coloring, but for the most part, the fins are clear, with the exception of that black line that runs right through the tip. So that's another clear indicator that it's the Siamese Algae Eater and not the flying fox. If you look at the coloration, the flying fox is sort of an even color, but if you look at the the scales on the Siamese Algae Eater, you can see like a black outline around every single scale across its back. It's a really neat looking pattern. It makes a very distinctive looking fish. So again, that's a very clear telltale giveaway. The flying foxes are not friendly. Their behavior is more like a red-tailed shark, whereas the Siamese Algae Eaters swim around in groups. So behaviorally, you can tell them apart very easily. They're not aggressive towards each other at all. And the ones in this tank, very clearly, are not aggressive towards each other. They're swimming around in a group of them. The other thing that I was having a little bit of trouble with was the identifying mark of a gold line that runs down the back along the black line. So you'll have the black line, and then just above that will be like a gold pinstripe. And then you'll have the brown markings of the upper portion of the fish. And when you look at these fish, I kept thinking that there's a hint of a gold line, and I wasn't quite sure if I was looking at a gold line or not. I looked at a bunch of pictures online, and they all kind of had that same sort of gold line. Some of them didn't have it as distinct as others. I wasn't really sure if that's what I was looking at or not. And so I decided, well, let me look at what a flying fox looks like. And I looked up what a flying fox's gold line, and I was like, okay, when you see the gold line on the flying fox, it's absolutely unmistakably a gold line. So if you're wondering whether that sort of gold coloration just above the black line on these fish, if you've got to scratch your head and wonder whether that's what they're talking about or not, it's not. When you look at the flying foxes, it's unmistakably a gold line, and these do not have it. So again, this idea that flying foxes are so similar to these Siamese Algae Eaters, they're similar at a glance, but all you got to do is look at them for a minute if you know what you're looking at, and you can pretty clearly see that they're not the same fish at all. And so I got lucky, and I got 4 Siamese Algae Eaters for the price of 4 flying foxes, which is a good deal. And I also wanted the Siamese Algae Eaters. I was going to settle for the flying foxes, but the Siamese Algae Eaters is what I was really hoping to get. So we're getting a little bit of a look at them. And that's the closest behavior I've ever seen of aggression towards these. They normally do exactly that. They just swim around. They actually swim side by side next to each other. That was unusual. That was interesting to watch them dart and dash like that. So that brings me back to what I said before. The fish store I got these at is supposed to be a really good fish store. It's a local, it would be called your LFS. It's a mom and pop shop. The guy's name is over the door, the guy that owns it. He's owned it since like the 70s or something like that. It's everything that the mythos of the local fish store is supposed to be, and yet I've gotten more mislabeled fish and inaccurate information from that shop alone than probably every other shop I go to, and that's including the big chain pet stores, and those are not known for the high quality information you get from them. But at least I don't get people pretending to be experts at the pet shop, or at the Petco or the wherever, they let me know that, hey, I just work here. All I know is what it says on this label here. They don't try to convince me that they know everything there is to know about this fish so they can make a sale. And that's what the people at this other pet shop often do. And again, I've gotten wrong information and mislabeled fish more times than I can count by going out there. So again, every store is its own store. There is no such thing as this is a good kind of store to go to. There's ups and downs and pros and cons to every store out there, and you got to take them as they come, and you got to take them on an individual basis. So, sorry we didn't get to see more of the fish. I was really hoping we get to see them out and about and getting some better identification of them. I even put some food in the tank before the video started, so maybe we get to see them a little better. There's a better look. Maybe if you want to pause the video, you can maybe see some of those markings I was talking about. You can see how that black line continues down through the tail. You can see there's no distinctive gold line down their sides. Their fins are very clear and colorless. Definitely Siamese Algae Eaters. And if you really get close and can really get a good look, the Siamese Algae Eaters only have one barbel on each side of their mouth, and the flying foxes have two barbels on the side of their mouth, and the flying foxes also have a little flap of skin in the corner of their mouth. And again, this is, you probably have to have a dead fish in your hand to be able to identify it to that degree, but that is another identifying quality. So there you go. My new additions are Siamese Algae Eaters. In a little while, they're going to be ending up in my 40 breeder, and they're going to have a forest full of hair algae to eat for me. So they should be fat and happy once they get there. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you real soon on the next one.